All right, let's dive right in, because we are standing on the edge of a really huge shift in how AI learns things. We're talking about a new way to teach AI agents to learn from their own curiosity, instead of just copying what people do. And this right here might just be the secret to building an AI that can finally handle all those tricky everyday tasks for us.
I mean, think about it for a second. You can ask your smart assistant about the weather, no problem. But can you ask it to go to a website and order you a pizza with extra pepperoni? Yeah, probably not. It's going to get stuck. This really simple, everyday problem, it perfectly captures the massive challenge that researchers have been banging their heads against with AI agents.
So, what even is an AI agent? Well, you can think of it like a digital helper, or a super smart robot for the internet. It's a piece of software that's designed to look at a website or an app, and then take a bunch of actions, like clicking buttons, typing in boxes, all to achieve a goal that you gave it. The dream, of course, is to have these things handle all our annoying online chores for us. But training them? That's been the really hard part.
For the longest time, the main way to train one of these agents was through something called imitation learning. It's basically learning by watching. You can think of it as the era of human data, where the AI's entire education comes from just watching what people do.
Let's go back to our pizza example. Using this method, the AI watches a person order a pizza perfectly, from the very beginning to the very end. It records every single click, every word typed into a form, and its only goal is to memorize that exact sequence of moves. It learns to be a perfect little copycat. Sounds pretty good, right? Well, there's a huge flaw. This method is incredibly brittle. The agent is just a mimic. So, what happens if that pizza website decides to update its look and moves the Add to Cart button? The agent just fails, instantly. It has zero ability to adapt because it never learned why it was clicking that button. It only learned that it was supposed to click there. It's completely locked in.
Okay, so researchers tried a totally different approach. This is the one that powered AIs to master super complex games, like Go. It's called reinforcement learning, and it's basically learning by trial and error. This is the ultimate goal, which you might call the era of experience, where an AI actually learns for itself.
So in this pizza scenario, the agent is pretty much blindfolded. It just starts clicking randomly all over the website. Click, nothing. Click, still nothing. It tries thousands, maybe even millions of combinations, and only at the very, very end, if a pizza somehow gets ordered, does it get a single little pat on the back, a success signal. Now, that works for games with clear rules, but for navigating the messy, real world of the internet, it is incredibly slow and inefficient.
And this really lays out the big problem, right? On the one hand, you've got learning by copying, which is fast to train, but, well, it's too rigid to handle any surprises. And on the other hand, you've got learning from rewards, which is super powerful in theory, but just way too slow and impractical for most things we'd actually want it to do.
So yeah, the entire field was basically stuck between a rock and a hard place. Our AI agents could either be these perfect but very fragile copycats, or they could be blind guessers, just fumbling around in the dark, hoping to get lucky. Neither of those was going to get us a truly helpful digital assistant.
But what if there was a third option, a way to, get the best of both worlds?
Well, that is exactly what researchers at Meta and The Ohio State University have come up with. It's a brand new paradigm they're calling early experience, and it is the practical common sense bridge that was missing between those two old methods. And you can really see right here how it fits in. It sits perfectly in the middle. It starts with human data, just like the old copycat way, but it uses that as a launch pad to build its own understanding, getting it ready for that future era of experience. It really is the missing link.
So what is it exactly? The core idea is actually super simple and really intuitive. Early experience lets an agent learn from the immediate consequences of its actions without having to wait for some far-off "you did it" at the very end. It's all about understanding cause and effect, one little step at a time.
So instead of just blindly copying the human, the agent now actively explores. At each step of the pizza order, it kind of stops and asks itself, okay, the human clicked that, but what happens if I click this other button instead? It just tries things out to see what happens. It learns from its own curiosity, just like we do.
Okay, but here's where it gets really clever. How do you turn that curiosity into actual learning? Well, this early experience idea uses two very smart strategies. First up is something called implicit world modeling. As the agent tries all these different clicks, it starts to build a mental map of the website. It learns simple, immediate rules, like, hey, clicking the pepperoni option adds pepperoni to the pizza, or clicking the back button takes me to the last screen.
It learns how the website works from all these little experiments without ever needing to finish the entire order.
The second strategy is self-reflection, and this is where modern AI really starts to shine. The agent actually looks at one of its own bad ideas, like, say, clicking on anchovies by mistake, and compares it to what the human expert did. Then, using its own brain, its own language model, it explains to itself in plain English why the expert's choice was better. It literally talks itself through its own mistakes to learn from them. It's incredible.
Now, this all sounds amazing in theory, right? But the million-dollar question is, does it actually work? Does it lead to better agents? Well, the researchers put it to the test across 8 different and very complex digital tasks. And the results? They're fantastic. Just look at this. In every single one of those tests, the agents trained with early experience consistently did better than the old copycat method. And it's not just a tiny bump either. It is a significant leap forward.
On average, across all of these really tough tasks, the new agents saw a 9.6% absolute improvement in their success rate. Now, I know, 9.6% might not sound like a world-changing number, but trust me, in the world of AI research, that is a massive gain. It really shows how powerful this idea of learning from curiosity is. But here's the real kicker. The researchers found that agents trained this way don't just perform better now. They also create a much stronger foundation for that final, really hard step of reinforcement learning. They end up learning even faster down the road, which makes this a true bridge to the future of AI.
So, what does this all mean? Where are we headed? Well, I guess the old saying is true. Experience really is the best teacher, even for an AI.
By letting these agents learn from their own curiosity, to explore, to mess up, and to think about their mistakes, we're finally moving away from those fragile copycats. We're getting agents that are more robust, more adaptable, and in the end, just way more useful for helping us with our digital lives. This gets us so much closer to that dream of a real general-purpose assistant.
And all this leaves us with one kind of huge final thought. We've taken a massive step toward AIs that learn a lot more like we do. So if an AI can truly learn from its own experience without a person constantly telling it what's right and what's wrong, what new skills, what new ideas will it discover all on its own? What will it learn to do next?